Hey everyone, welcome back to the Invincible Innovation Podcast. I'm your host, Adima Zolkaria, product design and AI expert. And today we're exploring the transformative power of generative AI in the realm of market research and marketing analytics. Joining us is a visionary AI entrepreneur who is at the forefront of leveraging generative AI to understand customer behavior and market analysis. Get ready for an insightful conversation on how AI is reshaping the way we gather insights, analyze data, make informed marketing decisions. And now we can start.
Hi,
Hi,
Adi.
Gal.
Hi,
How are
Adi.
you?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
I'm
Thanks
so
for
happy that
thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here with me. Gal Orian Harel is a co-founder at Blix, and we're going to hear more about Blix afterwards. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. And now we're going to start with a very high-level question. How can generative AI be used to enhance traditional market research methods like surveys and focus groups?
Sure. That's a great question. So I think a good like a good thing to start from is that today market research is kind of very heavily relied on manual work. Um, both like kind of in both classic methodologies, so surveys and interviews and focus groups both demand lots of manual intervention and this cause kind of a lack of apart from the lack of efficiency, it also limits the velocity, the speed, the volume, the scale
Yeah.
that things can be performed.
And more than
um,
that, some companies would say we're not doing it because it demands so much resources. We're not going to do it.
Definitely. So I think the major focus today, let's say the 80% of market research that is being done today is quantitative analysis. And there's a good reason for that. Numbers are easily being crunched and analyzed, but this often loses lots of color, nuances, depth from what is real market research.
Right.
So yes, qualitative analysis is there for since forever, but numbers are kind of the kings of market research today, and I believe this is about to change. Like the trends there are about to change, and I think like we'll probably discuss this later on. Um, I believe that the scale and velocity of market research in general is about to change, and specifically of text, kind of text and qualitative analysis. Um, and this applies both to surveys, right? Surveys are today mostly around numbers, but once in a while there's an open-end question that gives some color and really asks the customer what he thinks. I think this is about to be much more prominent and frequent. I think also there's some new tools that are about to even expand this. So there's lots of discussion today about micro interviews, for example. Imagine that you can take an interview at your own time with your own cell phone. Within the survey there would be a question. You'll answer the question, and then you'd get a follow-up question, and the follow-up question. And you'd be able to actually express what you think and feel about the product, the company, as an employee. That will be kind of, in my eyes, much more interesting than just getting the number of I'm eight, like satisfied eight. Um,
Mhm.
Micro interviews are kind of things that is commonly discussed today. There's lots of discussion about the controversial synthetic data.
Yeah,
Um, this is kind of heavily discussed, not heavily used yet. But
not
I
yet.
believe that this is
Maybe in
also going.
gaming, synthetic data is more prominent there. Um,
Mhm.
just before we dive into qualitative and quantitative data, just like high level, I come from design, so we do user research, not market research. Market is usually for the marketing people, but in order to really understand what people understand when they're engaging with the service of the product, we need to get feedback, and you could get the numbers. So how many clicks, how many logins, what was done in the system, this is a quantitative quantity, meaning
Yes.
data, that you get lots of information and you analyze it. And what we say is like we can understand what the users are doing with the system in that case, but we don't know why. And in order to understand why and to get depth understanding and insights, what their users are really seeking for, things that they could not do or they wish to do in the future, the real core of the reasoning behind what they're doing cannot be given in the numbers, and therefore you need to talk to them, to meet them. It could be like in a group, it could be like one-on-one, it could be getting more feedback just to understand what exactly is needed. And therefore we cannot do only the numbers. It's like quantity is important, but it's not the whole story. And what we're saying right now, that you have to get this kind of data in order to really understand how to make your product better, and therefore more engaging, and people will buy it more and enjoy it more.
True.
That's that is
True.
important.
True. So you're looking for the why, and I think this is, this is the way to get the why, and I think you'd be able to get the why at scale, what you were not able to do before, and also you'd be able to, in a survey, with a numerical question, with the close end of the question, you can ask what you know, right? You can't ask about what you don't know, and this is kind of another area that will be covered much easier with new tools.
Yeah. Right now, in general, most surveys are just, numbers. You say how much, 1 to 5, you're just measuring something. And most surveys don't even have free text because nobody's going to read all the data and understand and get insights from it. Once you have a capacity to do so, I guess it will be more and more like giving the users an option to really, or clients, it doesn't matter, customers, to provide further understanding. And more than that, the only thing we could count is what we currently have. We can never count something that we didn't build yet or published yet. In that case, if you want to know things about future features or future products, you cannot know it from somebody who didn't use it yet. And therefore, we have to have these kinds of tools.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so could you tell us a bit like how Blix AI is changing all of that?
Of course, of course. So Blix is building a platform for for market research in general. And the first tool that we've built is aiming at coding of open text. What we do is we take open-end questions, we take online reviews, we take those micro interviews, or any form of it can be a support interaction, or any form of short text, and turn the text into data, insights, numbers that you can kind of digest and get to conclusions at scale. I can tell you about my experience with with digesting open text. I used to be a product manager at Get, um, which is the Israeli kind of ride hailing
Yeah,
app,
yeah,
the Israeli
more or less.
Uber,
Yeah,
uh, and we had tons of feedback that was untapped. Right? How can you deal with millions of online reviews, thousands of support interactions every day, surveys with tens of thousands of responses, with amazing feedback that we're getting, but tapping into this feedback and getting to kind of real decisions based on it, kind of which are not based on I saw this one example and then I'm acting based on anecdotes. I want to act on
yeah.
numbers. This was very, very difficult, and we're trying to change that.
Yeah. In general, I think that the more important stuff comes when somebody is making the effort in order to write instead of just press the 5115. If somebody is really eager to say something, he would make the effort and write something. And this is the more important feedback as I see it. And it's less accessible for the companies because it's like how could you get so much information and get make sense out of it? It's only anecdotal when you're reading it, but you don't really understand, like, is this something that is recurring? Is this something that is substantial? Is it something that changed? And we don't know. It's too hard to handle that.
That's true. And as you mentioned before, companies either avoid asking open-ended questions or just keep this data, unused, and losing this, amazing insight that lies there.
Yeah. The same capacity would be for technological support. When you have a problem, you usually write, you send the bug, or you have like troubleshooting, you're sending over a very long text saying, this is my problem, and I cannot fix this and that. And somebody needs to read all of that and really understand. You cannot get, if you're contacting support, this is what you need to do. And I guess that the same solution could be relevant for that.
That's true. Eventually, you can build an entire picture that answers many questions, right? It can be a marketing question, like what do people think about my product? Why do they buy my product? Why do they buy my competitor's product? It can be a product question, like what features do people like? Why do they use my product? Why is this feature working or not? It can also be a support or even an HR question. Right? What my employees think about the company? What's their experience? It goes. It
Depends if
goes.
they want to express it. If it's like anonymous and nobody could know, right?
That's true. That's true.
This is something that is really important to understand, that when people start to say something and it's flowing, like in an interview, let's take the other side, like an interview, when you're talking to someone and you have this rapport and you understand exactly the context where he's working, what he's doing, what is the context of the application is in his workday, you get so much more than just seeing what he's doing. And especially when you don't understand why he's doing something or why he's failing to do something, why he's avoiding some of the features. So if he's not using some of the features, he maybe doesn't need them, maybe he's not aware of them, maybe he's doing it differently, maybe he has some kind of, I know, Excel that he's writing and then he's using it. So just understanding this context would give you so much more information than just getting the numbers, like and I know that many companies have a KPI regarding the satisfaction of their users, but it's very superficial, but easy to understand because the number is clear, right? If they're
Right.
happier or not, if they want to recommend the system to someone else or not. This is usually what they're trying to understand.
Right. So you have the number. Usually that would be an NPS survey, right? And you'd have a number that's changing month over month. But then, if you'd like to really make an impact and change it in a positive direction, you need to understand the driving factors beneath this, beneath this number.
Yeah,
Um,
and how to change it. Like sometimes they're not happy, but what could you do? Do you need to understand why and what could
Definitely,
be
and,
done?
and people are happy to tell you, right? If you ask them, people are happy to
Yeah.
express their opinion.
Another thing that is important when, especially when you have some kind of a design partner or someone who is like giving you their feedback and it's impacting the product, you have somebody who's very engaged and dedicated to your system. And maybe when it's a B2C, it's not that important. When it's a B2B, it's very important for you that you have a client that has lots of users and you want to make them happy. In that case, you need to just understand what is missing, what is not done well, what you could fix in order to make them happier, and therefore a very dedicated customer in that case. So it's really
Definitely.
important. We did not say anything yet about agents. What do you say about that? Like somebody who has an avatar that speaks to you. Right now, we're talking a lot about support use cases. What about the marketing analysis research?
So I believe this will be this will change everything, including market research. I believe that currently agents are not not really functional yet, right? They're not really bringing the kind of results that you can really rely on in most cases. But I believe that that things are moving so fast, and I believe that in a couple of years, you'd be able to allocate tasks kind of let an agent do stuff for you, including research, which is something that almost everyone does, and is not it's not a task that you can define because you don't know you don't know what's there, right? That's the definition of research. If you knew what what you're looking for, you wouldn't need the research.
Right.
So I believe in agents will be kind of a very useful tool in kind of collecting data and kind of building knowledge and making things making knowledge much more accessible. And I believe we'd see lots of use in that. It will come from both sides, both the researchers and the audience. Like we've discussed, we've mentioned synthetic data. So there's lots of discussion around can I get feedback? Can I get market feedback from a bot, right? Should I wait and assemble a focus group, bring people to a room, pay them large amounts of money, it will take lots of time? Or can I just set the audience that I would like, kind of a virtual avatar, a virtual persona, and ask it some questions?
Yeah.
I believe it will not replace people, but it will be a very useful tool to kind of do quick research, get quick insights, some preliminary research. That will be a very interesting tool as well.
Yeah. So when we're saying agents, like we're thinking about an avatar, and it has like a 3D vision image, and you could talk to it. But what you're saying is that we could imagine that somebody, as the researcher asking the question, when you go into some kind of a product, there will be this representative you could talk to. On the other side, you're thinking about how can we just imagine what would people could or would say, and then having the avatars on the side of the users. I believe that the first one would be much more applicable than the second one, but maybe I'm mistaken, because in the end, people people want to talk to people and to understand people. And if somebody represent these end users, um, I don't think even the facade and the avatar is needed. In that case, you could just ask a question in general. What would these kinds of audience would say in general about this, or what this kind of persona would say about this? And you don't really need the agent to represent something, but maybe I'm mistaken, and virtual worlds are going to be really big tomorrow, and I know maybe. What are the advantages of using generative AI for sentiment analysis and understanding customer opinion and emotions?
Yeah, this is actually a very interesting one, especially taking into account the latest announcements. GPT 4.0 was just announced, and we suddenly moved from models that understand text to models that understand voice and video, and can also generate voice and video soon. And I believe this will be very useful for market research specifically. We do already have a trend of research becoming kind of more based on video and voice. There's, for example, applications that you go into a store, and you get a pop-up asking you to kind of express your opinion about the experience in the store. So instead of having kind of a text-based survey, you just record a video or reel of yourself kind of experiencing the store, experiencing the product. That will kind of bring much more color into things, and I think will also open more possibilities to sentiment understanding. So if someone writes something, that's one thing, but imagine that you can analyze his voice, kind of get the emotions that he's expressing and not just saying, see his facial expressions. This is very important to kind of capture the wow moments in a process, in a product, in an experience, capturing the issues, right? What does this person really thinks? And once you can do that at scale, that will change many methods and tools that
Yeah.
that are being used today, and will open kind of many new opportunities, I believe.
Yeah, I think that these capacities were like we already know that in customer care we have these kinds of, and in support we have these kinds of things when, especially when you're calling a customer care center. And same goes for sales. We have systems doing that exactly. Automations of understanding when is the customer angry, when he demands something, when he's more relaxed. So just understanding the emotions that rise through the talk is a very valuable information. Of course, when you get something very shallow, like a number, when you're doing a survey, it's less than talking to a person. It could be only a voice, a discussion, or a video call. And the more you get information, so when you're thinking the gap between just talking over the phone and the video is the expressions, right? You could hear my voice in both cases, and you could see when I'm excited or not in both cases, but you get my face in order to make sure that, yeah, now this person is angry, now this person is bored, whatever. And this information is very, very important in order to understand what people are saying. You know, you see people when they're texting on WhatsApp, sometimes people misunderstood and understand each other. Do you know someone who's stopped talking to each other after having a discussion on WhatsApp? Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah,
Because the tone is missing. And it sometimes it could be very crucial to understand the data just from the tone. So same goes in that case for just understanding people and markets.
definitely. So the ability to do that at scale would be, huge, and also the ability to have the interview in the natural, the environment in the moment, right? It's not just the face of the person. You're able to interview a person while he's using your product, while he's visiting your store, which is, was not that easy prior to the era in which you had a smartphone, you could take a picture of yourself or take a video of yourself and then also analyze it easily.
Yeah,
So I think
this same goes for user interviews and just for really understanding if it's a digital product. I mean, user interviews, user research is done in front of a screen. You need to show yourself. I've done it like in the past when you had like two cameras picturing and one camera is capturing the screen, or there is a screen capture and one camera on the face. It was like very complex in like this usability lab. This is how it was called. And now we don't need that anymore. We have like a camera on our laptop, whatever, and it could be analyzed afterwards or while we're doing it, and it's very important. The same goes for sales calls. It's the same thing. You could have it all, especially because, as we said, everything is online right now, so it makes lots of sense.
definitely.
um, and the advantage is only in the amount of data as you see it, and or it's the fact that it's online. For example, when I'm doing user research, or I gather the information, analyze it afterwards, right? Maybe the fact that I'm currently seeing that let's say that the user is getting frustrated, whatever. So I could see it if I'm very like aware of what's going on. That maybe he's saying something else, and maybe I could gather more information while talking to him.
So that's really interesting. Yes, I think there's many there's many advantages. One is the amount of data that you can collect. The other is the speed, both in terms of you can do it online, right, and you can do it at scale and kind of get feedback quickly, right? You don't need a person anymore to do everything. You can have kind of large parts of the process being automated, what you couldn't do before. And I think also the ability to have a multimodal analysis of things, this will also contribute to kind of a much wider picture and better, deeper insights. I think if you've seen the last launch again of GPT-4o,
Yeah.
one of the demos is around there's a father and son looking at the screen and
Yeah, it's
asking,
the Khan Academy person and his son.
yeah, asking
He's
asking
Khan, so that's his name, and he's
okay.
from the Khan Academy, right?
So
Yeah,
asking questions about the screen, which is also amazing, right? If you're
right.
talking about UX research, you can have the model look at the screen, at the person, and kind of have everything, the entire context of everything being analyzed together.
Yeah, I think the another good example from OpenAI. We're talking about OpenAI, but a day after was the Google I/O, the Gemini, and we're talking only about them. So I feel like we should talk about both. But in any case, with OpenAI, they had this. Did you see the guy who talked to a voice assistant that he's going to for an interview? Did you see that? And he's wearing the hat. Does it look good? Did you see that? Okay,
No.
it's just another example. It was very very similar to the movie Her. Did you see that movie many years ago? It was very
Yes.
similar because she was very friendly. Some say too friendly, and she sounds like a bit like too too happy. But the fact that you could just talk to this assistant, to this entity that is online, and just like a human, and he is taking a picture of himself, so it's a video call, and he shows her that he's wearing the hat for the interview, and he asked her, is it like a good way to be dressed? And she's like saying, I don't know if it's the best thing to wear this hat, and you would see like a bit unique, but maybe too unique, whatever. I don't remember what she said, but the fact that you have first the emotions of the person that is talking and of the assistant. She's very natural the way that she speaks, and she is sometimes too happy, sometimes embarrassed. Very, very natural to a person to speak that way. And it's only a demo. I don't know exactly what would happen, but you could naturally see that this is like, yeah, this is where it's going. It's going to be very similar to talking to a representative. Same thing.
Yes, this is definitely where this is going, no doubt.
Um, we talked about these tools being relevant not only to marketers, we talked about researchers, we talked about like salespeople and customer care. Do you think that we missed someone who would need these kinds of capabilities?
Wow. So I think eventually, this will be relevant to everyone who's doing research, right? Everyone who wants to know what happens around. I think this will kind of change as the revolution of data, uh, data supported decisions was, came into our life. We just we're used to rely on data when we kind of get decisions. I believe this will make, and there's different estimates, but people are talking about 80 or 90% of feedback and data that's flowing into organizations is not being utilized today, because it's difficult and unscalable to analyze. So I believe this will be kind of a new reality for everyone in every business or an organization that wants to kind of look at the world. That will be the new eyes and ways to get into decisions. And this goes to we started actually from product managers that have many kind of feedback sources flowing in, trying to understand the voice of their customers. And yes, it goes through marketers, salespeople that are already. We have some companies doing that in that domain, but I think it will kind of there will be almost no one that's not impacted from this revolution.
Yeah. One more thing that comes to my mind when you have like an in-house researcher, one of your employees, he would understand exactly the company, the product, their customers, and so forth, but he would not have sometimes a comparison. Maybe he worked somewhere else in the past, but he would not know how to compare it to other use cases, to other industries, to competitors. And if you're bringing someone who is like an outsource, who has like like a agency or consultant, would have the capacity to have some kind of a baseline and to know like this is very common that people say this about these kinds of products. So you could build something that has the knowledge not only from the company but compared to other systems.
Yes, yeah. So I think that the challenge would actually be the first, right? knowing the world is something that models are already doing well. They read the internet and more, so they have some general knowledge about the world. The bigger challenge would be to bring the business, like the business goals, into the conclusions, into the research. That kind of what is it that we would like to achieve? What are the considerations? What is the internal lingo? How our product looks like? How do we see the world? And I believe this is where people would meet would meet these tools. We see it as a wingman, as a co-pilot that that lets you do the same work 10x faster or 100x faster. But it's still it's still a tool. This is something that that's important to mention, and I believe that people would still be needed there to bring the kind of internal goals, aspirations, culture of the business that they're in, and making sure that these tools are working for them.
Yeah, and to make decisions based on them, like executing
Def-
some kind of processes should.
de-
But
Definitely.
the first thing that comes to my mind is these kinds of interviews or these kinds of young researcher doing the data gathering or doing the polls and gathering the data. They're usually someone who is younger in their organization. And
Mhm.
when somebody is more senior, more experienced, he would get the information and know how to do and analyze based on the strategy of the company and make decisions based on what's analyzed. But it reminds me of the fact that same would go to other places using generative AI. Let's say in coding, the junior coders would be less needed because GitHub co-pilot of that, and the ones who are senior would know more how to integrate, how to do something which is more complex, to do the infrastructure. Everything needs to be done by somebody who really understands. But if we're taking it like a few years after, if we don't have the young ones, they will not get older and experienced without the experience, right? So how do you see that? It's like this is the first thing that comes to my mind,
Yeah, well, that's definitely a paradox, right? You need only the seniors, but how do you get senior if you can't do a junior position?
right?
So I believe the skills, the required skills will be changed, right? Also, being a junior, both for for juniors and seniors, the kind of skill set that you're looking for would change. There will be less need for memorizing and having knowledge, or doing the tedious work of either coding, reading text, or writing the boilerplate code. This will be done by the machine, but um, you need to know how to ask questions, how to guide those tools, and make sure that you're building the bridge between your business goals and and the tasks that you provide, and the way that you orchestrate stuff. So I think this will become the new skill set that you'd start being a junior at doing that, and then you'd be senior at doing that, and work will change.
Yeah. So as I see it, like in the future, I think we'd have different types of relationship with technology, and we would need to do something else. I don't think people, like many people say, that we would need um, you would have more spare time, you would have time to do your hobbies, and you would get like an income from the government, general income. As I know people, they will find something else to do more work. When you're thinking about technology, we're supposed to do much less right now compared to other years, and we're doing more. I think that in general, people are working more hours, they're working harder, and are more attuned to the digital world and to technological experiences. Doesn't matter if you're at home or at work, or more or less it's the same in many cases. So I think that what we required in order to do your work would be different. I don't know what would it be, but surely people will find what to work on, for sure, as I
Well,
see it.
people like being busy, and probably value creation will change, right? If things become a commodity, then there will be another layer of value to create. So I believe we'll just be able to create much more value much faster with less resources. Building a SaaS product today is much easier than it was 10 years ago. And I
Yeah.
believe people are talking about having the first one person
Yeah.
billion-dollar companies
Yeah, I
soon.
think that Sam Altman said that it's going to be like a unicorn of one person. I think he started with 10 and then he got to one, but I'm not sure. But yeah, this is what people say. I think it's not there yet. I cannot give you like the numbers, but it's not there yet. Like not like in the near future. But again, maybe I'm mistaken. I don't have
It's
like any kind of way to
Well,
predict
I
the
think
future.
the only thing that's certain is that it's moving really fast.
Yeah.
We started thinking about and kind of digging into this technology about 2 years ago, and things that we've only imagined that will be available in 5-10 years are already table stakes today. So things are moving really fast, and I believe that lots of capital is being invested, lots of resources are being invested.
Mhm.
So things are just accelerating,
Yeah.
and I believe we'll see. I believe this technology will move much faster than we think.
So could you give us an example? Like I can understand large language models understanding deeper meaning of the text. That makes sense because they're getting smarter and they learn, and this is why they L in the L, you know. But what do you mean that you did not expect? Give us an example.
Wow. So we've discussed initially images and video and vision and sound analysis. These were things that at the beginning you had a model that was able to get the text and get back to you with some text which was okay. Code writing just improved like significantly since in the last couple of years. And still, today this is mostly used for writing kind of boilerplate code. And recently we start seeing, and I think we start seeing autonomous agents. So I think the power that is still not unlocked is the ability to kind of get a task, uh, plan, build a plan, kind of an execution plan, and execute it. We see software that writes software to
Yeah.
execute tasks, and when this will work, this will kind of change everything in terms of our capabilities and what we can do. Imagine that you can assign a task, a research task or a coding task or a marketing task or whatever to kind of a virtual employee, and get the work done. This would be amazing. I think this is where we're going. If you've seen Devin recently, there was lots of buzz around that.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then the anti-buzz afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's always more in marketing than in the real kind of actual product.
Mhm.
But in this case, I think that the marketing materials do predict near future. So it doesn't work yet, as expected, but I believe it
Yeah.
will very very soon.
So we're talking about two different point of view. First, we're saying that building technology is much easier. So you could build much more in the same time, and the types of co-pilots, it doesn't matter from what company, would bring you a faster way of doing things. That's one thing. And another thing is using these models in order to do some kind of a task, in that case doing research or gathering data or analyzing data or being more interactive in the way that they're working, not being more natural, not just getting inputs and analyzing, but really creating on the flow questions or getting and giving feedback based on something which is flowing, right?
Right. I believe it will get closer and closer to talking to a junior employee that will do the work for you. And once you have unlimited number of junior employees that don't sleep, don't eat, don't complain, and do lots of work,
Not
that
getting
will
paid, you forgot.
you'd have to pay someone. But yes, this will change how things look today, yeah,
Yeah.
significantly.
What are the key skills and expertise needed for researchers to effectively leverage generative AI tools and technologies?
Mm. So I think we touched the main one, which is knowing to ask questions. I think this would be the skill of the future. If I would be kind of a school kind of a school student today, I think this is the most important thing to
Yeah.
succeed in the world in the future.
But in the school, they teach you not to. You just need to answer what you've been asked, right? It's the other
Don't
way around. If you're asking too much, you find yourself out of class,
don't
more or
don't
less.
don't let me.
I'm talking like out of pain because I gave a talk in my kids' school a week ago, and it was very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
I've been speaking like keynote speaking for years, more than 10 years, and it's so easy for me to do it. But then you go into this class of like kids, and it's like, wow. That's all I can say. Very
yes.
surprising.
So yeah, I believe, again, not very not the school culture, but openness and curiosity would probably be kind of a key trait to be able to adjust and to learn, and kind of in a more practical way. I think following the what is possible, understanding the uh, below the buzz, right? Eventually those are tools, right? It's They have their capabilities, they have their limitations, and if you know what they can do, how to utilize those tools, and what are the risks, what can go wrong, what they cannot do, what you should not expect. This would probably be kind of key to succeed. And I think lastly, ChatGPT and Gemini and Bard and Claude and all of them are great generic tools, right? They're not even tools. I think they're more of a proof of concepts for a technology. They're very, very generic. It's great talking to them, but eventually, if you're a professional and you're looking to do something that you can trust, that can generate real value and that can work at scale, go for professional tools, right? There will be lots of professional tools that will be built on top of this technology, and this is what it is, right? It's a technology. It's not a
Right.
tool yet.
Yeah.
So if you're a market researcher, you're welcome to talk to us. If you're writing code, or if you're an artist or a marketer or UX researcher, there's those tools for everyone today. There's really a boom of like explosion of tools.
Right.
Use professional tools that are built to perform the tasks that you're trying to perform. And ChatGPT is nice to kind of learn the what can be done, what's possible, how does this work. But eventually, there's another layer that's required on top of that.
Yeah. No, it reminds me, I told you at the beginning that I created a program for leaders in order to understand generative AI. And one of the lessons is about UX for generative AI and product lifecycle for, and most people, when they think about generative AI, they think about ChatGPT, this line that you write and you have this chat and it's very nice to get inputs and it's getting more and more smart and human for sure, but this is, as I described it as being in the DOS era. What we're doing right now, We did not build all the interfaces, all the interactions, all the communication that is more than just the text. And another thing is that it's very, very vast and not specialized. And specialization is so important when you want to get something as a marketing research in that case, or as a product person. It doesn't matter. When you want something which is very precise, it's not enough to have the information in ChatGPT. And I'm not talking only about the fact that you need to train the model for a specific domain. That's one thing. Another thing would be what is the use case? What needs to be done? It's not enough. Like, let's say that you take all the information about marketing research and you put it in ChatGPT. Is it the tool that market people need, like marketing people need? No, they want to do something, and the use case is the tool, like what you're building. So it's only the technology, the engine that will will empower these kinds of tools.
True.
So we need to build all of them,
Try
right?
try to plan a building with text, right? Text is very intuitive. It's very kind of we this is how we communicate. But if you'd like to create a plan for a building, you're an architect, you'd probably not go for describing it with just text.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
same goes.
Even more than that, what you're saying is like you need to have something which is visual. But even if you're just going with someone who's doing only text, let's say lawyers, okay, they're working just with text, but their workflow is to understand the case, is to gather evidence, is to, like, they're doing something. It's not enough just to get answers and questions and then copy and paste it into some kind of a word, right? It doesn't make sense. So
Definitely.
all the flow should be empowered by generative AI. And in order to build products, you need to understand who are you building it for and why. It's a digital product, the same as any other product that you need to build, right?
Definitely, that's true. The inputs, the flows, the outputs, everything has to apply and be kind of adjusted to the work that you're trying to do in order for it to kind of really work for you. Other, if you go for ChatGPT, usually you're getting something that sounds good, but it's not there, right? So it's like I can almost use that, but that's
Yeah.
not good enough. This is
It's
the
a
thing.
very nice, it's like a very general thing. It's a good beginning, but if you want to drill into the details or to really use it daily, it's a beginning. It's a very good beginning, and lots of capabilities, and it's important to have these like basics of technologies being built. They are very useful and important, but they're just the beginning, which is very important to know. How do you see generative AI shaping the future of market research and decision making?
Wow. So again, I believe that things are about to shift from quantitative research and quantitative data collection to like much more qual. Text and kind of the voice of customer in general is about to be uh, you know understood in a much deeper way. Organizations will have the tools to really listen, right? Really listen and do something with what their customers, employees, partners are thinking or expressing or saying. And I believe this will reshape the industry as a whole.
Yeah. Another thing that comes to my mind is we talked at the beginning about companies who are saying we're not doing that. That's too expensive. But once it's reliable and not that expensive, more companies would have the advantage of these big companies that could leverage these capacities into their companies.
Definitely, it's going to make things much more accessible, cheap. Having a researcher was maybe the luxury of a large company, and now
Right.
small startups or individuals will be able to take and analyze. For example, I have a million kind of an e-commerce shop with a million online reviews. No one's going to read that manually ever. But if I have a tool that will do that, that's great. Maybe I can start
Yeah.
utilize that, those practices of the large corporates.
Yeah. In general, I usually work with startups. So for me, it's very close to my heart. And I always, for them, when there is like a big corporate and a startup, I'm cheering on the small like underdog. And I think it's really important. It's not that I'm not delusional. I understand that Google would be big with the AI. It's not like right now, by the way, OpenAI, if we're not taking into consideration Microsoft as OpenAI, but OpenAI is a startup giving a fight to Google, which is like a very good thing as I see it for the market. And I'm very for that before they went into Microsoft. So I'm taking it before that. And the fact that there are many businesses and products and companies that could not afford these kinds of insights and really understand what could be done. They are building something. It's very, they don't have the buffer that other companies have, right? So they
Yeah.
need to be very precise with what they're building and to make their customers content. If it's not done in the best way that they could, or they are not aware if it's the best way or not, they can never really win.
Yes, lots of capabilities are about to be democratized, and you'd have access to kind of amazing freelancers, kind of virtual freelancers that can do many tasks for you. That and again, that will let small companies do things that today are only possible for the larger ones.
Yeah. The question was about the future of market research and decision making. But we said that most of the decision making and understanding, analyzing, and then making decisions would probably, at least at the beginning, would be in the hands of people, right? This is what you think?
Well, yes, I believe that decision making will stay in the hands of people, or at least I hope. Right. Once we lose that, that will be a whole different story. But yeah, I believe that eventually the decision making part and kind of guiding the machine to do the things that create value, and this is eventually still is the case, right? You should create value and solve someone's pain, to make real impact. So I think this is still going to be done by humans, but things are about to get much faster, easier, efficient, lighter, and quick.
Yeah. So we're almost done. I have like a question that I usually ask all my guests. Your number one tip for entrepreneurs or AI entrepreneurs today?
Hmm. Um, I think that the number one tip is it's a great time to build. So just start. Really, it's an amazing an amazing point in time. It's difficult to see it when you're in there, but I think there's a huge change that's happening and lots of opportunities, uh, lots of moving kind of moving parts and things that kind of trains to catch. um, Apart from that, I think that the other thing would be to still keep the customer in mind, right? It's kind of on the other side of things, it's really exciting to hop on the technology train. Let's build something with this amazing technology. What can be done? Um, that's not the right way. Start from the customer. Start from a real pain. If you'd like to succeed, then start from the business, and then harness the technology. But regardless, that's a great way. Great time to build.
Yeah. Thank you, Gal. It's been very insightful and interesting talking to you. Where could people hear more about your work and contact you?
Uh, we have our landing page, blix.ai. You're welcome to kind of get there and be in touch. Also, feel free to write to me. I'm gal at blix.ai. And I'd be happy to get comments, thoughts, both there, LinkedIn. That's also an option. We're very happy to connect, discuss, and get your feedback.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Gal. It's been very insightful and interesting and fun to talk to you. So thanks.
Thank you for having me, Adi. It was
Sure.
great.
Sure. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. I invite you to sign up to my new online leaders program, Unlocking the Power of Generative AI, designed to equip leaders with the skills to build successful generative AI products. And I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya.